Hello, 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 Tampa Bay listeners and beyond. You've got Everything PEO, Money Talk 1010 a.m. I'm Evan Collart.
I'm Lionel Francis.
My friend.
We're here again, baby.
Finally came to work. Daylight, going to be at the radio show. Daylight, going to leave the radio show in daylight.
Yep.
Now, I remember what you said, that this was the last time they're changing the clocks.
That's what I was told, but now I'm hearing a different story.
I was about to correct you, my friend,
Okay.
because for the record, I've Googled this, I've chat GPT'd this, and I have found no evidence that this would be the final time. But I do miss it, and I do enjoy it. Nothing like getting up in the dark for work and going home at night for work. It's kind of depressing.
Yeah, I hear you. And the weather, perfect weather. You know, some people can handle the cold, some can't. You know, but it was nice. You know, put on a sports jacket and get out. Now the sun's out. It's a little warmer now.
I'll take a few more
Yeah,
weeks
yeah.
of the nice, cool weather. I know it's
yeah.
coming. I like to walk. I like to bike. I'll take a few more weeks right where we are at. Well, we got to turn the page. The show must go on. We've got another week in the Women of Impact series coming at you, week 3. We've got a heck of a guest today. We've got Nabilah Shamseddine.
Correct. Hello, hello.
Wow,
All right.
Thank goodness. I was a little nervous on that one. AKA Nabs, and we'll just reference that way. A true, fierce, and accomplished female entrepreneur has overcome many challenges in, I would say, a male-dominated workforce through the franchising, really has maintained a bustling social life, and shattered some serious stereotypes along the way. We're proud to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Glad to
Really?
be here.
Yeah, it's been a great few weeks. You know, we started this Win series to kind of create a platform to recognize some amazing women, help share their stories, success, how they broke through barriers, highs, lows, kind of everything in the middle. And we saved kind of that franchising model for you specifically, and it's going to be a good hour.
Well, I'm glad you did because it's my specialty, and I've enjoyed franchising for the last decade or so. So.
We've done well in it,
Thank
but
you.
We want to take a quick moment. We always take this moment, Nabs, to thank last week's guest,
Tammy Boyd.
Tammy Boyd.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, anyone that didn't catch the show, please go back and watch the replay. You know, she's kind of I would say, a true workers' comp expert that we've had during the Win series.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really been on several boards and philanthropic efforts, but the Kids Chance of Florida. And I was taking yours there. I'm reading, I'm shuffling, I'm hosting here. Kids Chance of Florida kind of rocked me to the core. You know, obviously, you know, we're in the business of insuring claims. It's a hard topic for most people to discuss. And if and when there's that catastrophic event like a death at work, there's so many things going on, payouts, and obviously who's at fault,
Right.
and you know, benefits, and you know, who's left to think about the children that have lost a parent through this process. And just to see this program out there, striving hard to be a nationwide program, all the goods they're doing, you know, in the Florida community in multiple states. You know, having done workers' comp for 21 years, it's really just a path mentally I hadn't gone down yet, and kudos to them.
Yep. Kids Chance of Florida, a nonprofit organization nationwide that are helping those that have been injured on the job or, you know, been killed on the jobs, but they're thinking about the families.
Yeah.
And the kids and the wives and making sure they take care of them. They also have funds and college funds and scholarships for the kids to make sure they go to school. We were surprised and shocked that we've never heard of it, you know? So it's amazing when we get this, we have this show and we get people in here and some of the things we do find out, and we just try to get it out there to everyone to make sure you're aware of it. So Kids Chance of Florida, a nonprofit organization thinking about those kids and other family
Siblings,
members,
right?
Siblings.
You know, impacted in this catastrophic moment. And, you know, think about it. In this day and age where everything's going up in cost, right? You know, whether it's food, right? We won't even go down the political path of the recession and everything that's inflating at a rapid rate. But, you know, a single, you know, it goes by dependents, right? And so whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you have children, this death payout can be as small as just $100,000. But the max payout, even if you hit all the triggers, you're married, you've got multiple dependents, et cetera, is only $250,000.
Yes, it is.
It does not get you very far in 2023 when you're trying to think that you've lost, the patriarch of this family, and essentially how are we going to support this family going forward. Just $250,000 does not get you far enough, in my opinion.
That's not enough, and I guarantee you we've shocked some people just bringing up that number. We call it so many different things, the shock laws or whatever other things that are out there when you call it. But when someone does pass or dies from an injury, the maximum number is $250,000 that's paid out. So kudos to them coming up with this program of theirs to help out those family members and keeping them, still going and making things work. So,
yeah. Well, Nabs, we have a couple segments on the show that we typically do coming out of commercial break called Save of the Week, where we highlight kind of a big win for the PEO business and how they've helped a business owner, and something called Everything Relevant, just kind of what's new and hip out there. And we're going to skip all that today, but I did want to highlight one article that I tripped over. It was, we spent a lot of weeks, especially post-Hurricane Ian, talking about the state getting flooded with these uninsured contractors. They're not getting proper licensing. The inspectors are out there. They're arresting them. They're shutting them down. This one was a little different.
Yes,
this one was on the PEO side of things. We have a Georgia business owner who just got sentenced in a $54 million workers' comp fraud scheme. And heck, let's call it what it is, Lionel. This is a black eye on the PEO industry.
big time.
But just like any other business out there, PEOs are privately run businesses for the most part. Of course, some of them have gone public, but the reality is you're counting on this business owner to run it the correct way. And, like anything, there's bad lenders, there's bad banks. Of course, there's a couple rotten apples that can spoil the bunch. But this PEO owner essentially was out there signing up all their clients and telling the carrier that these were white-collar based employees, clerical, dentist offices, any of the low codes, if you will, but they were really roofers and framers, and they were pocketing that money, and they were literally running programs for their sales reps to upsell these higher premiums and lowballing it with the carrier to the amount of $54 million in premium.
And it looks like they've done it for several states, but California looks like the biggest one. They're the ones who've that had them in court, and they pleaded no contest to multiple felony counts of insurance fraud. So Los Angeles Supreme Court has charged them and filed them for this. So $54 million.
They went pretty far on this.
Oh, yeah.
So they were basically pocketing those monies. And eventually they lost their policy, right? And that's all these PEOs are. They're large payroll companies, and they've got a master comp policy, and they're wrapping individual businesses within their master policy. But like any Ponzi scheme, eventually the money dries up.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where they couldn't even run the claims through the carrier, right? Because the gig is up. And so they start paying for the claims
Out
themselves.
of their pocket, yeah.
All right. And then eventually they couldn't do that any longer and found another company really to shift this liabilities over. And I'm sure the story and the paths that they went down to get this company to take on these people, I'm sure that company thought it was an up and up business. Just like any PEO, they could blow up their policy. They have to pivot. They have to find another means of income. So not only did he take himself down, but he found a cohort eventually, and they both went down. Now, for me, looking at the sentence here, I mean, if they are able to pay back certain amounts of restitutions, it's nothing more than 10 years probation. And it's not unless they violate those terms do they actually see prison time. Not enough. Not enough.
2 individuals, both of them sentenced to 10 years probation, 60 days of community labor, ordered to pay $350,000 prior to their first sentencing.
Yeah. Well, I hope they're sitting on that $14 million that's owed.
Well, there's some retribution. They have to pay in about $14 to $15 million that's owed. I see some property had to be sold as well. So, again, I don't think it's over for these two, and I really hope we get more information about this. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know there was a PEO in Georgia. I looked at this and tried to do some research. I have no idea who they are.
Bison. They were flying under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know, Everything PEO, we bring it all to the forefront. The reality is you know, like I said, this is more or less a black eye on the PEO industry, but somebody's got to get this out there. If you're not embedded in the construction journals and the Workers' Comp USAs, and you know, it's hard to get the word out, but you've got to know, right? And so, unfortunately, make sure you're working with a vetted PEO. Make sure they are using a rated carrier. Make sure you're doing all your due diligence before you jump on with a PEO, because at the end of the day, it's called a co-employment relationship for a business. And for any of our listeners that don't know what that is, right, essentially we come in, we process your payroll. Every employee that gets a paycheck through the service is covered for workers' comp. Excuse me. So in traditional senses, it's a pay-as-you-go platform. It's very popular. It's in 46 states. It's been around since the 70s, and we do a lot of good for businesses. And that's usually what this show is highlighting, all the good things that PEOs do for you as a business owner or anyone really navigating that business of employment. It's murky waters. There's a lot going on. And but this one, I just had to bring it to there. I was shocked. I've been doing this 21 years. Of course, during that time, and I know you've been doing it 19, Lionel. Of course, we've seen PEOs come and go in that time. And normally, it's mismanagement of claims or mismanagement of even their state unemployment claims, and then they blow up their SUTA rates, and they just can't stay affordable. But this is taking it to a whole nother level. I was really, really sorry and saddened, really, to see this article.
Let's just put it out there again. You need to do your legwork. You need to make sure you're with a right PEO. Just don't jump on board with anyone. Do your background checks. Ask the questions to make sure you're with a decent or great company. Make sure they have A-rated paper. Make sure they're covering all your employees. Again, the other services we provide is payroll taxes. I know we talked about everything entrepreneur and starting up a new business. You're talking about that being huge for a new business to start, to have a company to have a discussion on how and what should you do when it comes to picking up policies, anything from workers' comp, general liability. Not only that, now you're talking about payroll and how do I handle payroll, and having someone to back you up and answer those questions for you. So make sure you do your legwork and
absolutely,
and ask all the questions.
All right. Well, you're listening to Everything PEO, Money Talk 1010 a.m. We got about 3 minutes before break. Nabs, let's just get into it. I think this conversation typically always starts with the origins in the beginning. So, tell us, the Women of Impact Now series is really geared to entrepreneurs. So what would you say inspired you to go down that path of, female entrepreneurship, and where did it all start for you?
Well, to be honest, it started when I was a kid selling candy to my friends.
I love that answer.
That is not even a joke. I used to do puffy paint shirts. I would sell lemonade, anything to make $1. I always loved working, and it just became, ingrained in me. One of my role models is my dad, and he's also an entrepreneur. So watching him build his empire from literally nothing, coming over here from Beirut, Lebanon, putting himself through school, becoming a pharmacist, and then owning businesses throughout, my childhood and now my adulthood. It really inspired me to be that person, because I watched him do it, and his, joy from it and the giving back that he gives with that comes, along with it. So, that's what inspired me. Plus, I like working for myself.
That's a plus.
Yeah.
That is a plus. It's funny you say that. Growing up, I was the kid that never threw out the old wireless phone or any kind of novelty item and just put it away until I found that next garage sale or that next moment or that next need. So that just kind of brought it home. Well, I know it always hasn't been easy for you.
No, never. It still isn't easy.
Yeah.
What would you say some of those are the biggest pitfalls? I know we only got a minute and a half. That's a huge question. And, of course, we can come back to it after break. But number one pitfall as an entrepreneur?
I mean, the responsibility of not only the financial, but the people that, that are working under you, leading a team and multiple teams in my case, not letting them down and keeping the doors open so that they're employed. That's one of the toughest, responsibilities to have. Because owning a business isn't just you, it's everybody that you bring along with you. And they've got to trust you and believe in what you're doing and also love what they're doing, and making sure that every step that we take in our business is always turning $1 and making a profit so we can open up the next and give the employees growth, because that's what I like. I want them to be able to stay with me forever and give them growth. And that's the biggest hard thing for me to, make sure that we don't drop that ball on.
Yeah. No, I would say that's the biggest repetitive theme that we're hearing through the Win series, because, good old Mark Cuban used to say, you can have a great product without without clients, you've got nothing, right? And it's hard to get
Exactly.
clients when you're just by yourself, right? Being busy as an entrepreneur doesn't always mean you're being efficient,
Yep.
right? And so until you can kind of get that model down and get some trusted help, find out what you do great, maybe not so great, bring in the right people, then it can really blossom. We got lots coming back. Stay tuned.
Let's talk about this. You're in the fitness industry, and there's a couple of them. Orange Theory Fitness. I've done that, and it's pretty intense. And you have some new one that you're doing right now, Recovery Spa,
The Recovery Wellness Spa, and then Kid Strong.
Kid Strong.
Yep.
Let's talk about the Kid Strong real quick.
All right. What do you want to know?
Tell us a little bit about it real quick.
It is definitely one of the best programs for kids out there, after school program for kids. We are, curriculum based. Our curriculum is based on science. It's professionally led by coaches. And it not only teaches kids, how to be confident, but it gives them social emotional skills. It is really a big part of our program is fitness. So they're getting exercise, but they're connecting their brain to their body so that they can understand why they're doing these exercises. And it teaches kids leadership skills, teaches kids, being fit is actually really important. And on top of that, it teaches them, social emotional skills and building confidence. Every time they perform a skill and they perform it successfully, you can see their eyes light up. And when a child has confidence, it breeds motivation. And that's huge. And when you have motivation, then you have progress, and then it just becomes a really positive cycle. And we are parent-based, so parents cannot drop their kids off. We coach to the parents so that the kids can go home and actually apply these things that we teach them into real-life situations. So, and we do a lot of really at-home things where we have like medal challenges, and the parents and the kids, they get really behind it. We have over 500-600 students at each of our locations, just and personally that I own with my partner. And that's a huge deal. It's exploding. You're gonna see it everywhere. It's gonna be the next Orange Theory kind of brand, but for kids.
I'm excited about that. I can't get my 8-year-old away from his iPad, his TV, and all these video games and YouTube is driving me crazy. But getting them out there to do something physical.
It's a good combination. It's not replacing sports, but it's a good support system for any kids that are in sports, and even those kids that are sedentary and playing video games. That was why it was designed, to get kids off the couch so that they can come in and do something and actually have fun. We teach them competition. They get awards. There's a lot of really great benefits of having a child in this program. And the moment I walked in on my discovery day, I was like, where do I sign up? I want to get this done. It's for kids walking to 11. So, we take them pretty young, and then we take them all the way up to 11 years of age.
Oh, that's awesome.
What a diverse gap there between Recovery Wellness Spa and Kids Strong. So being this female entrepreneur, franchising pro, if you will, when you're going down that path of an Orange Theory, right? These are three very different spaces. How do you go down picking where you're going to put your efforts in on that next go-to, if you will?
Well, so I was in fitness since I was very young. I loved it. I was an elite gymnast. I competed at a high level. I started when I was 4. I trained with Bella Crowley in Houston, Texas. Nice. So I've always been, engulfed in that type of world. And when I was done, I needed something that was more passionate for me. And so fitness became that thing. I became a trainer. I started managing gyms, and then my mentor introduced me into, Orange Theory. And when I walked in the doors, I was like, this is where I need to be. And so I started from the bottom, worked my way up. And then that's how I got involved in the fitness, realm or the Orange Theory realm, and bought Oklahoma, developed that, sold it. And then, kids fitness is similar to fitness. It's the same business model, really. It's membership based. So it really was an easy transition for me on a business level, because even though we're doing kids fitness in a sense, we're still doing it the same way we did it with Orange Theory, which was the membership-based model. And then the Recovery Wellness Spa is just, for me, recovery was lacking in the fitness world. So that was a natural transition. Understanding the modalities and the therapies and knowing how it complements and enhances any type of quality of life. We did that in fitness. Now I'm doing it just with a different vessel.
Oh, wow.
No, it's huge. And what I'm hearing here, and any of these, as Facebook Reels and LinkedIn and all these other platforms blow up, everyone has seen all the how-to guys and the 5 best techniques to be, successful, have a morning routine, get up early. But what they always overlap in is find your passion, right? And what I'm hearing here is kind of all 3 of these related to your startup. And something that you're super passionate about.
Absolutely.
And you found a great way to translate this into your business world.
Absolutely. I will not do anything that I'm not passionate about.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. If I don't like it, if I don't feel like that energy and that feeling in my stomach where I'm like, this is the right business, all 3 of them, the businesses that I've been a part of or currently still are a part of, gave me that, and they're all have been the best choices that I've made so far. So,
in a male-dominant industry,
fitness,
which
for
fitness
sure,
industry to say,
massively, right?
Yeah. How have you been able to deal and dealt with the seriously them taking you serious? Yeah.
Well, I think being in such a high-level competitive sport and having that independence and discipline trained in me very young was a really huge contribution to that. I also am very tough-minded and somewhat militant by nature, so it was much easier for me to make sure I set the boundaries, and I have no problem with confrontation. So if somebody is stepping in over my boundaries, I have no problem letting them know and letting them know the next step if they keep doing it again. So really just, honestly, it was setting the boundaries right then and there, and then holding those boundaries very firm and not really taking any crap from anybody, because it does happen. I mean, you can't have fear. You can't be fearful, because they'll take advantage of you if they see even an ounce of fear in you. So it was just kind of putting up that, persona that you can't mess with me. Go ahead and try.
We were talking a little bit before the show. I have a feeling having 9 uncles groomed you for this.
9 Lebanese uncles, or 8 Lebanese uncles. Yes, they are very tough too. And my dad was also very, very good at making us understand our worth. Yeah. And my mom is amazing too. So
I have these conversations with young men and women and nieces and nephews, and I still believe this strongly. I think this world would be a little bit different if each kid was involved in any sport at least 2 years, or 2 years of military ROTC. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I seriously believe it would make a difference. Why? It teaches you a lot of things. One, to get along with different people.
Yep.
Different languages, different religions, different everything. You have no choice. You're working as a team together, okay? And you're put into this environment where you got to get to know each other and get along. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
And you're forced into it. And I think that was the biggest thing with sports for me. That was the biggest thing I took out of it. And again, that one thing you said, making sure no one crossed that line and how to handle it. That's where it comes into play, when you need to be a follower, and also when you need to be a leader.
Yes,
and
balance.
Yep. Balance in between both. So that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. I will say what really helped was my parents did really instill in all of us to have a sense of self-worth, and to hold to that self-worth and never waver. And so, I have to say, if you really want me to know where it's coming from, it comes from them.
No, and that's huge, right? Having a 2-parent household.
Yep.
I mean, more than ever, these stats are coming out. It's a game changer. But I do believe what Lionel said. The power of sports is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Well, we kind of teased on this a little bit before break, talking about kind of the perception of entrepreneur. Everyone just sees, at the top, and no one really understands that journey, right? Very few, right? Eric and I run a business. The employer gets paid last or not at all. And I think that's a concept sometimes that is tough for the everyday employee to understand. And I know you've had a little bit of a journey yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go through that a little bit for our listeners, for those that don't know.
Absolutely.
Talking before break, I know at one point it got so tough where to go to next. You're almost living out of your car. I mean, it was almost to that level. And to see where you are today, please touch on that.
Absolutely. So I always tell people owning businesses is not really, there's not a lot of glory in that. They think there's a lot of glory, but the grind is real, the grit is real, and for it to be successful, you cannot quit before the success happens. And a lot of times I think that people do quit. And so there was a fate, or I guess a short moment for about 4 months, when we were in the midst of signing for the Oklahoma Orange Theory, that we our employer of my partner and I fired us when she got wind that we were buying it, because we still worked for Orange Theory, coaching classes, running her region, so on and so forth. Yeah, it was very blindsided. My partner got banned from working in the entire state of Arizona in any Orange Theory. Yep. And then, but she let me. She said no problem for me. So I was like, oh, that's weird. Doesn't matter. We were a team. So we basically had to find the next meal ticket, which was finding Orange Theories that were underperforming and then consulting them. And so that's basically what we did. And so we were chasing that meal ticket every single time. In order to get there, we would have to drive in our car, and we couldn't really afford to stay in hotels because obviously we were eating through our savings. And it was definitely a moment where I had, I think, $60 in the bank. My son got sick, and it was like, do we eat or do we give him medicine? Like,
boy.
So I think we got a little, we starved a little bit. I think we bought my McDonald's that one day. But the good news was we arrived in our next destination, and we were able to collect a little bit of income and then keep moving. So the point of this story is this: I wanted to quit probably so many times and walk away and just get a job, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because the outcome outweighed that moment in time.
How did you stay motivated?
I just, I think I'm naturally just very motivated all the time. Like I don't really quit a lot of things, no matter how hard it is. I just believe that if we just stayed the course and we got our studios opened, that it was going to be successful no matter what. I just had to get to that finish line. And that's all I kept telling myself. Just wait it out. We're going to get there. And we did. So, and we opened up 5 units and sold them, within 4 years, and right before COVID, thank goodness. But yeah,
Huge.
So it was definitely worth the struggle. But during that time, in my mind, I'm like, is this going to be worth?
Wow, ton of setbacks, a ton of challenges, and you just kept on grinding.
Yep.
No, I think that's the big difference. It's not that, there's a good entrepreneur or a bad entrepreneur. I just don't think everyone has that extra gear.
Yeah.
Right? The staying late, the working weekends. It's really not built for everyone, and that's okay. Right? Because there's a spot for all of us in this dynamic, but it's important. Secondly, a big thing you hit on is you stayed lean through the growth.
Yep.
And I don't know what this says about Lionel and I, because we sell insurance for 20 years. We come to work with a smile every day. I guess we just enjoy insurance, but we've all been there and we're heavy blue collar, right? We're not doing the doctor's offices. We're doing the construction, the welding, the framers, the roofers, structural, kind of, long haul, all that. But he and I have both had that moment where this fairly new to hitting success, and we show up to the job site to enroll him, and he's got $150,000 invested in that F-150, and it's on the rack, and it's on the spring, and literally that could have been 6 months worth of salary if he just stayed frugal through that. And so it takes a little bit of a discipline and that extra gear, and those two combined, even if you have one without the other, it's a long journey.
Yep.
And believe it or not, in our industry, yes, we're providing a service, but again, we're really getting to know our clients.
Yeah.
And there's times, and Evan could attest, and I could tell you right now, there's times you have to have that hard conversation with a couple of them that you have on board and saying, just to help them out.
Yeah.
Hey, there's some things you're doing. I know it's your company. I just don't want you to ever say, darn it, I wish Lionel had said something.
Yeah.
So I'll voice my opinion, and you do what you want from there. But I've been doing this too long and seen too many companies start off and disappear after a while.
It does happen. And building client relations is the most important, I think, one of the most important piece of business, keeping that retention and your attrition low, your retention high, repeat business, referrals, all that stuff. So that's good that you do that, I think.
Yeah.
How do you manage your successful business and social life and relationship?
I have amazing partners in all my different territories for KidStrong. My sister is my general manager of my wellness spa, the Covery Wellness Spa, which is in Sparkman Wharf. And she's phenomenal. I mean, that girl she's like a CEO of the spa. So I hire some of the best people I think that I can ever possibly have. My center directors and my head coaches in all of my centers of KidStrong are my right-hand people. Those having really good people frees up a lot of time so that I can have a social life, spend time with my kids, spend time with my family, spend time with my friends. I do like to travel. So I like to make it, at least once a month go on a vacation. I still work sometimes when I'm on vacation, though, so I can work remotely. I can work from anywhere, and that was how I designed it. I wasn't going to do the Orange Theory business operational coach class, ownership again. I wanted to be able to step away and hire the right people to basically run my businesses for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're listening to Everything PEO on Money Talk 1010 AM. Through the whole month of March, we're doing our Women of Impact Now series. In the studio today, we have Nabs. Really, the franchising juggernaut. We've got about 2.5 minutes before break here, Nab. So, for anyone that's listening, and we'd like to think there's a few, especially through this series. It's Women History Month. I think that was kind of how the birth of this series kind of came around.
Right.
But what would you say? Like I said, we got 2 minutes before break. For any woman that's out there teetering, wanting to go down these paths, any tips for success, or really, what would you point them to? As a best foot forward?
First, find the thing that you're most passionate about. I think secondly, if it's in franchising or if you're opening up a business, there are playbooks that you can utilize. And I say operate those playbooks the way they're designed because they were designed by the experts and they're just plug and plays. So I prefer franchising specifically because it is a business in the box. I just take what I'm told to do and I apply it and execute it and it works. But, really it's all going to boil down to I don't think you could be as successful unless you're passionate about what you're actually doing. And that's the number one thing. And then figure it out.
Yeah. Have you found that having more or less that blueprint, with through that model, obviously, whether it's branding for you or jumping on a name that's already out there, did it just kind of work itself out like that? Or do you think that's by far the best way to go as franchise?
For me, I'm very good at following a playbook. You tell me exactly what to do, I will follow it to the T. And if not, if I feel like it needs to be tweaked a little bit, I will revise it to make it even more effective and more efficient. But playbook for me, it's like, I'm an athlete, so I understand the playbook. I mean, the coaches have a playbook. We were the athletes. We execute the playbook, and it works. So that's just my take on it. But again, there are a lot of franchisees out there that don't feel the playbook works, so they try to do it on their own, and then they're really shocked when their business is not successful. So
yeah, they almost are trying to reinvent that wheel.
Yeah,
it's funny. I've been doing this 21 years. I just turned 42 the first week of February. It's really all I've known my adult life. I've worked for 3 small brokerages. Never did that corporate America thing. I never really went down that path. But I did have the ability of having a couple of great mentors.
Yeah.
And although I didn't have that national playbook to follow, without that, it would have been a much, much, much different path. Plenty more coming back with Nabs. Please stay tuned. Well, we've been talking about this WIN series, this platform that Lionel and I kind of created to bring some amazing women to the forefront. We've only got a couple of weeks left on it. I can't believe how fast the 5-week month has gone. But, and Nabs, you may know Lauren Spires. Coming up next week, she's COO for Success Team Coaching. It's a business that specializes in creating 7-figure summer camps and after-school programs for people that are really already dabbling in this space, whether it's karate, daycare, schools, all of the above.
Okay.
Kind of helping them take that business to the next level through a summer program.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They're in this entrepreneurial program I'm a part of. I know you made an event with us.
Yeah.
And really, her and her husband have got a great, great thing going. Very similar to your story. There was a moment where the pandemic kind of decimated everything. It got down to, that last moment of what do we do next? Do we pivot? Do we get out of the business? And a ray of sunshine came down with this idea. And fast forward 5 years later, and they've scaled this business to some really great heights. So
that's remarkable.
Very excited to get Lauren Spires in here next week.
And after that, we have Amber Spears, and Amber is a global leader, affiliated partner, partnership marketing. She is co-founder of East Fifth Avenue, a world-class management, education, and managing company. Amber is also a co-founder of Mimosa Mastermind, and you brought that up a couple of times.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah, she's in the CEO group. Literally has 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs in her own mastermind.
That's awesome.
But it still goes to
others.
I
love the name.
Yeah,
I love the name.
Yeah, so she's an affiliate marketing beast, and we really haven't kind of touched on that too much in this show.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've liked about the Win series is there really hasn't been much overlap. And even though we talk about workers' comp every week, we only did that one week. And we've kind of spanned the globe. So in that process here, I know there's a lot of franchises out there. I mean,
so many,
right? I mean, hundreds,
so many,
hundreds and hundreds. And although you kind of followed your passion path, if you will, how do you vet that? With so many to look from, can you break down kind of how that process goes?
Yeah, I mean, so Kid Strong was an interesting one. When I was still the owner of the Oklahoma Orange Theories, one of my members who became a really good friend of mine moved from Oklahoma to Dallas, and she had called me up and said, hey, you need to buy this franchise. It's called Kid Strong. And this was a year before I sold. And I said, no, there's no way I can get involved in any more. I'm already spread too thin. I need to, focus on this so that we can build them up and then eventually exit. And we had an early, good exit in 2019 and what to do next. So this Kid Strong was kind of sitting in the back of my head. Flew out and met with Matt and Megan Sharp, the CEO and the founders of Kid Strong. Loved their story. Went into a class and I just was blown away. It just, like I said, the goosebumps, the feeling that I get teary-eyed and emotional. If it can inspire that type of emotion just from walking into someone's business, I know it's going to be a great business. So that's how I kind of got involved in Kid Strong. And the Covery, it was interesting because the co-founder or the founder of the Covery was one of my employees at Orange Theories years ago. In St. Pete when I was the regional of the Tampa Bay market. And somehow I saw him do this wellness spa. I sent him, a little quick message on LinkedIn, which is, how we all stay connected in business. And went and visited his spa. And I'm like, what you're doing, I want to be a part of it. They hadn't opened up any franchise locations at the time. In the course of the last year, which is basically how long I've been a part of it, they've sold over 40 licenses, and they're we're already about to blow up in the Covery Wellness Spa space. So look out for that.
Go ahead, Lionel.
I was going to say Kid Strong. Let's dive into that a little bit. How many do we have? How many you're planning to open? I mean,
I am partners in 4 markets: Utah, Southwest Florida, Tampa, and Orlando. And we have 4 currently opened. We have 3 licenses already purchased. Again, to then open 3 more. I'm sorry, not license. 3 leases that we've already signed on. So we'll be opening up 3 in the next, 6 months or so. Our goal is to have between the 4 units or the 4 markets anywhere from 30 to 40 stores open. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
How many in this area, Tampa Bay area?
We have 1 in Citrus Park.
Okay.
We have 1 in Windermere, which is Orlando, and then 1 in Oviedo, which is also Orlando. And then South Tampa coming soon. We're going to start kicking off pre-sale there, and that's off of Gandy and Himes.
Okay.
Yep.
Wesley Chapel next.
We're looking. How hard it is to find places these days.
Please open one for my son, please.
Yeah. We are looking at Lutz and absolutely Wesley Chapel.
Good.
We actually did have a really good space there, but right now, the commercial space is not vacant and the size that we need, and it's very challenging. We would have twice as many open if we could, but it's finding the space and locking in the lease is what's challenging right now.
Wow. So when you've honed in on your next territory, if you will, what's that? Is that a 6-month process? I mean, how far out are you really forecasting these
We're
next
always
openings?
looking every single day. I'll open 3 at a time if I can.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not, we don't need to space them out. The first one I wanted to get open and just the first to market and understand the business and making sure I understood all the moving parts and the pieces of that particular model. Now that we've understand it and have a good grasp, and everyone that we've opened has been very successful. I think our 4 units in the entire company are still in the top 10 of membership base. So, out of 66 open, I think we're doing pretty good. So, we're right now looking. If we could sign 3 leases today, we would sign 3 leases today. Brandon, Wesley Chapel, maybe Lutz, out around that area, and then a couple more in Orlando.
So is it fair to say that you have found more success with kind of more up-and-coming franchises versus ones more established?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
I know Orange Theory's been around, but even 10 years ago, no one had heard of Orange Theory, right? And now, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Right? And so...
Every country.
obviously doing what we do, payroll, workers' comp. I've got a half a dozen firehouses and some Domino's pizzas and this and that. And I've been in these talks with some of these folks, and I almost feel like they were pointed at to their next opportunity more on how the franchise fees and what kind of royalties, how much do they take, how much do they help with marketing, like that global brand, if you will. But I've got to assume, as they get bigger and more solidified, they hold that power of the pen a lot more than that up-and-coming franchise that is just looking for that next nabs that wants to help spread it out.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It's fair. It's very fair. The way each franchise model is different, though. For Kids Strong, we're not franchisees. We have to be area developers. So that means that we own a certain amount of licenses in our territory, and we have to open up all of those. We can't just sell them off. When I was the area rep of Oklahoma for Orange Theory, we own the entire state. So anywhere we could open up if we wanted, or we could sell the license to somebody else.
Okay.
So, and have franchisees. So each model is different. The Covery operates on a franchisee basis because they don't want to sell multiples to one person if they can't operate their unit. The first unit that they open successfully, we don't want them to have 4 units that they can't operate successfully, so because it's bad for the brand. So, yeah. I mean, I like the emerging brands. I like things that are up and coming because I get to be a part of that particular brand being successful. So,
what I'm hearing from you also, everything's been timing.
Timing, yep.
The perfect time.
Perfect. I don't know. It just drops in my lap. I don't know. It's crazy.
When you brought up Kids Strong, that's the first thing I thought of, timing. With everything we've gone through with COVID, and now we're trying to get back to life again. And some people now realizing COVID affected me more than I thought it did.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for the kids.
Yep.
I think your timing doing
was
that
so
is,
perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
Our it's crazy because Kids Strong, their numbers doubled after COVID. It was crazy. And adult fitness, as you probably well know, it didn't bounce back. It's not as vivacious as it once was, which is crazy.
Everybody had to build the home gym.
Yeah. And Peloton and the mirror and having the online coaches that coach classes while you're at home. So, I mean, it definitely shifted that market or that industry quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I think, you've got enough of the right genes, if you will, right? Having that extra gear is huge. Knowing, that you have to trust in others and delegate where you're not necessarily so strong at.
Yeah.
But a big thing is knowing when to jump.
Yeah.
Right. I think so many people get stuck in brand and R&D and searching out that next hot market where viable opportunities are literally passing them daily.
Yep.
And they just have that fear to jump. And it sounds like, you're ready to swing the bat when the time comes.
Yep.
And that's a huge, huge part of it. We've brought plenty of entrepreneurs on over the last year of the show. And, I would say that's in the top 5 of, where people go wrong.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm all about it. I'm not like a risk taker. I don't gamble. I'm going to Vegas again for the second time in 30 days, and I don't gamble. I don't even play the slots.
Good for you.
Yeah, but I like I said, with models that I see, it's almost like, I don't want to call it a superpower, but it's almost like a sixth sense. I can see the brand and where the brand is going. I talk, I ask questions to the founders, and I love their answers. I love the way they think. And so at that point, I'm like, they're going to take this brand. This brand is in the right hands, at least for the time being. And then they know when to hand it off if they have to hand it off at some point to make, to take it to the next level. But I mean, that's just really important. Understanding the model has to be number one, and then B, the product has to be good, and then the people who are actually driving that product, which is the franchise, is very important.
I know Evan has brought it up already, but we've had several entrepreneurs here, and the one thing that I continue to hear is, find something that you love, and also surround yourself with people who know things better than you do, who can help you out and make sure they take care of the things you do not do great. So I've heard that from you too. Also, you're surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yep.
Yeah.
People are the most important part. If you're a multi-unit operator of any business, your people are your biggest, most important asset. Not anything, no money, not the product, none of it. It's your people. And if you don't pour into your people, they will not pour into you, and your business is not going to be as successful, or the doors won't stay open. That's basically how it is. So that's huge. You know, I don't believe in micromanaging. I don't micromanage my team. I told you earlier, I don't even really visit our centers very often because I have really good people. They have autonomy. If they have any issues, they call me and we find out a solution. But they are the CEO of the company and they're my people and I have to trust them. And when you trust them, that's huge. They feel a sense of attachment to that business now because it's theirs, essentially.
I don't care what you're selling, whether
No.
it's insurance or Kid Strongs. There's a moment there where they buy from you if they like you and they trust you. And
Yep.
if you go wrong on one of those two very critical items, no one appreciates that enough, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm the farthest thing from a micromanager, but it's taken years, right? I mean, I don't know the analytics for all businesses, but like you bring on 10, you keep 2. I mean, but through those processes, you're able to kind of weed through the pack and find the strong performers. But let me ask you this: what do you believe? We got about 4 minutes here. It's been a quick hour, like
That
always.
went by.
But,
You were not wrong.
work-life balance, does it exist?
Absolutely.
It does.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was just in Tulum last week. I didn't really work at all. I unplugged somewhere.
I don't believe it.
I did. Can't you tell by my tan?
Oh, I believe that part, but I have a feeling you might have been on that.
Okay,
key,
I
but-
was, but I couldn't help it. I didn't have to be. But no, like I said, by design, I created my work-life balance the way I like it. I actually love working, so it doesn't wear on me. But in the moment that I feel that I need to step away, I will step away. And I will call my manager, my regional. Her name is Jen. She is a unicorn, and nobody will ever take her from me. And I already threatened her and said, if she ever leaves me, I will hunt you down. Hope she's listening. But she and her husband are amazing, and so if I have to step away, she takes over, 100%. And I'm like, whatever the answer is by you, that's what the answer is. So it can exist. You just have to design it.
Yeah, it's funny. You see that on both sides, right? Again, through these reels and all these motivational guys. Some of them are really harp on finding that, and others like doesn't even exist. Work like, what is that? You go or else, But eventually you can get burned out, right? And it's tough. I mean, the burnout can be really, really hard. So, go ahead, Lana.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know we brought up Orange Theory, we brought up Kid Strong, Recovery, Spa. It's your new baby.
Well, it's my baby.
It's your baby.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about it, where it's located, when it's opening up, everything?
So we should be opening soon in April, I'm hoping. And then we have, what we focus on there is optimizing longevity of life. And so IV therapies, hyperbaric chambers, red light therapy, infrared salt sauna. So yeah, you can imagine I will be spending a lot of time in that spa. And that spa is going to be how I have my work-life balance, because I'll be working, but I'll also be getting an IV, getting a massage, whatever it is. But we do compression therapy, and then we do a lot of other really cool PEMF, which helps with pain. And then we're moving into peptides, and so anything and any modality, any therapy that we could possibly have that's going to help improve the quality of someone's life, we're going to have it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's going to be the actual flagship, so it will be done right, done proper.
Peptides are the future. That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah.
Peptide this, peptide that.
Yeah.
I got me on some peptides lately.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I almost want to say most of your traction in the franchise world are not these huge build outs, right? Oftentimes you're going into, of course you've got to, whether it's make some hallways, build out the offices, but that's huge to not have to sit there and build this restaurant, this massive kitchens and leaner build out, get you going faster.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Fair. And plus, I don't want to manage a restaurant. That is a whole different world.
Oh yeah.
There is no work-life balance after that.
Well, Nabs, we hope you come back and see us again sometime.
I thank you for having me on. It was an honor to be here.
Really was. Well, again, next week we've got Lauren Spires. They've helped over 500 programs and counting in the USA, Canada, and UK. Success Team Coaching. Get your 7-figure summer program going. It's really been awesome, Lionel.
It's been great.
You see, it's still light outside.
I know.
We're not driving home in the dark tonight, baby.
Well, we
like
can at
always,
least get our walk in, or it's not too dark now. So.
Well, it's coming after dinner tonight. Well, we've got 2 more weeks in the Win Series. Don't miss it. We've got a couple of great ladies coming up. It's been awesome, Nabs. Thank you so much. Love God. Appreciate your staff. Be kind to your PEO, and know we're on a 167-hour break.